I was 7 when I first saw it. Just a glimpse, really. I was playing hide and seek with my cousins in my grandmother's sprawling ancient house. I'd found the perfect spot, a dusty linen closet at the end of the second-floor hallway, a place nobody ever went. I squeezed myself in, pulling the heavy wooden door almost shut, leaving just a sliver of a crack to watch for the seeker. The house was silent except for the distant, muffled giggles of my cousins. Dust motes danced in the single beam of light slicing through the darkness of the closet. That's when I saw it. At the far end of the hallway, a shadow detached itself from the wall. It wasn't cast by anything, it was the thing itself. It was tall, impossibly thin, like a line of ink drawn against the floral wallpaper. And it didn't walk. It slid. It moved with a slow, deliberate grace that was utterly wrong, unnatural. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to scream, to shove the door open and run, but I was frozen, pinned by a fear so pure and cold it felt like ice water flooding my veins. It slid past the doorways to the other bedrooms, a silent, featureless silhouette. As it passed the sliver of light from my hiding spot, it paused. For a terrifying, heart-stopping second, I felt it knew I was there. I couldn't see a face, no eyes, no features at all, but I felt a gaze, an ancient and malevolent awareness that bored right through the wood and into my soul. Then, just as silently, it continued on and melted into the shadows near the staircase. I didn't come out of that closet until my uncle found me an hour later, curled in a ball, crying silently. I tried to tell them what I saw. They all said the same thing. It was just a shadow, a trick of the light, an overactive imagination. But I knew. You don't forget a feeling like that. The feeling of being seen by something that shouldn't exist. I spent the rest of my childhood avoiding that hallway. After my grandmother passed away, my parents inherited the house. I begged them to sell it, but they loved the place, the memories. So, we moved in. For years, nothing happened. I pushed the memory down, convincing myself that maybe they were right. Maybe it was just a child's nightmare. I was 16 when I saw it again. I was up late, studying for a final exam. Everyone else was asleep. The house was groaning around me the way old houses do. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water. Standing by the sink, I glanced through the doorway, down the long central hall that led to the front door. And there it was. It was standing in the moonlight filtering through the transom window over the door, the same impossibly tall, thin figure. This time, it wasn't moving. It was just standing there, watching the bottom of the staircase. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the dead quiet of the house. I ducked back into the kitchen, my back pressed against the cool plaster of the wall, trying to control my ragged breathing. I told myself I didn't see it. I closed my eyes, counted to 10, and peered around the corner again. The hallway was empty. Relief washed over me, so intense it made me dizzy, a trick of the moonlight. That's all. I grabbed my water and hurried back to my room, locking the door behind me. A habit I'd never been able to break in that house, but the feeling of being watched didn't leave. For the rest of the night I felt it, a pressure in the air. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside my window, sounded like it was getting closer. The sightings became more frequent after that, but never for more than a second. A fleeting glimpse in the reflection of a dark window. A flicker of movement at the edge of my vision as I walked down the hall. It was toying with me, letting me know it was still there, a constant silent tenant in our home. I never told anyone again. They wouldn't believe me, and saying it out loud made it feel more real, more powerful. My breaking point came a few years later, when I was home from college for the summer. My parents were out for the evening. I was alone, watching a movie in the living room. The sun had set, and the house was filled with the deep shadows of twilight. I was completely engrossed in the film when a floorboard creaked upstairs. Directly above me, I muted the TV. Silence. I told myself it was just the house settling, but then another creak, and another. Slow, measured steps, moving from the top of the stairs down the upstairs hallway. The same hallway where the linen closet was. My blood ran cold. The steps were heavy, deliberate. This was different from the silent, sliding figure. This was something else. The footsteps stopped directly over my head. I sat paralyzed on the sofa, my eyes glued to the ceiling. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. It stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Then, a new sound. A faint scratching. It was coming from the ceiling. A slow, rhythmic scrape, scrape, scrape. Tears streamed down my face as I stared up, listening to that sound. It was the sound of a fingernail, long and sharp, dragging across the wooden floorboards of the room above, just inches from my head. The scratching moved slowly, methodically, tracing a circle on the floor above me. It knew I was there. It was telling me. I finally found my legs. I scrambled off the couch and sprinted for the front door, not bothering to grab my keys or phone. I ran out into the cool night air and didn't stop running until the streetlights of the main road were bright around me. I called my parents from a payphone, babbling hysterically that someone was in the house. They rushed home and the police came. They searched the entire house, top to bottom. They found nothing. No signs of forced entry. Nothing out of place. The only thing they found was in the dusty bedroom directly above the living room. On the floor, scratched into the old wood, was a perfect circle. I never spent another night in that house. My parents, seeing the absolute terror in my eyes, finally agreed to sell it. We moved to a modern, characterless suburban house, and for the first time in my life, I felt safe. The memory, however, never faded. Years have passed. I have my own family now, my own home. I live a normal life. But sometimes when I'm up late and the house is quiet, I'll see a flicker of movement out of the corner of my eye. A shadow in a doorway that seems just a little too dark, a little too tall. And I feel that same old cold dread wash over me. I tell myself it's just my mind playing tricks. A scar from my childhood trauma. But last night I was putting my daughter to bed. She's 7. As I was tucking her in, she looked up at me with wide, serious eyes. "Mommy," she whispered, "who's the tall, skinny man that watches me from the closet?" I haven't slept since because now I know it wasn't the house, it never was, it was me. It's been with me this whole time, waiting. And now it's starting to show itself to my daughter. I don't know what it wants or what it is, but I know one thing for certain. It's not going to take her. I have to face it finally. I have to find out what it is. I have to protect my family. The hide-and-seek game is over. Now, it's my turn to be the seeker. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever experienced something you just can't explain, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to hear more chilling tales, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stay safe out there.